Good afternoon, everyone. This is the 5-minute warning. We're going to start in 5 minutes, so please help yourself to some refreshments and grab a seat. Got it.
So 5 minutes, I think I'll just stand here.
And then I don't have to, like, this is the hard part, right?
Yeah.
It's like, they should know us tall people. And Tamara doesn't use one, so. Come, come, there's plenty of seats. Lots of seats up front here. Yeah, sit here, and then it'll give you a nice, easy transition.
Okay. Okay, well, welcome everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Mike McNanny, and I am Chief External Affairs Officer at Vancouver Airport Authority, and I will be your MC for today's festivities. For the last 2 years, we have held this meeting online only, so we are thrilled to be here today with all of you in person, and we are equally thrilled that we are also able to continue to welcome attendees virtually. Before we begin, some brief housekeeping notes. And if all the folks who were standing back there, the seats ain't going to get any better if you want to come on in. Rush seating. So before we begin, some brief housekeeping notes. We have Jenny Lang with us today, providing American Sign Language translation for the presentation. Thank you, Jenny. La présentation est disponible en français aussi, et j'aimerais dire merci à Michel Bilotte et Marcella Blunderey pour la traduction française. For those joining online, please make sure you have selected the right link for the language you would like to hear this event presented, English or French. S'il y a des gens dans l'auditoire qui souhaitent entendre la présentation en français, je vous invite dès maintenant à voir un de nos techniciens pour des écouteurs. Aucune personne, ou peut-être ma français est très mauvais. We are gathered here on the traditional and unceded territory of Musqueam. We are privileged to walk beside them in partnership toward reconciliation and in pursuit of opportunities that will benefit our community. Before I outline our program, I have the honor of inviting Councillor Brett Sparrow of Musqueam Indian Band to the podium to provide remarks and welcome us and to start us off in a good way. Councillor.
Ichawal. Hello, everyone. My name is Ihwat Simkan. My English name is Brett Sparrow, and I'm an elected councillor with the Musqueam Indian Band. And on behalf of the community, we'd love to once again formally welcome all you to our unceded and traditional territory here at the YVR airport. Today's a unique day that we're able to look back at the milestones throughout the last couple of years here at YVR, and also a way for us to reflect on how we can move forward together in partnership with the airport, with the Musqueam Indian Band. And I just want to raise my hands to everyone at the airport for their continued recognition of our culture, our language, and our history. A few examples that my administration shared with me before coming up here today where there's a tarmac that is being ripped out and rebuilt soon, and our archaeology and our different departments within the community that need to look after our history and take care of what is underneath that ground to really respect that history that we have here and that ability for us to understand those better ways to move forward with the YVR airport. So I just want to raise my hands to all of you for who are a part of that work. And if you take a walk through the airport, I'm sure you see a lot of our language at the welcome signs, our art in our house posts, all throughout the airport to find another way to tell our story here at the airport. I'm just going to leave it at that. I just wanted to keep it short and sweet, but really outline those key big picture ideas of collaborating and working together to find core values that we can find common ground with the airport. So, hi, Sepka. Thank you.
Heitske, thank you. Merci, Councillor Sparrow. Now some additional housekeeping. Housekeeping item number 1 is that I will find a way to get this podium raised the next time we do this. Coffee and tea is provided by the good folks from the Fairmont Vancouver Airport Hotel, consistently voted the best airport hotel in North America by Skytrax World Airport Awards. And the fresh bannock and jam is provided by our partners at Salmon and Bannock, the first Indigenous restaurant at an airport in Canada. I will also note that the washrooms are just behind you on the left, provided by the Vancouver Airport Authority. And the nearest exit is also just behind you on the left, also marked by signage. Today, for our annual public meeting, we are joined by the Board Chair of Vancouver Airport Authority, Annalisa King, and our President and CEO, Tamara Vrooman. Our Board Chair will share remarks on the year that was 2022. We will then hear from our President and CEO, Tamara, who will give a presentation on our business and operations in 2022, including an overview of our financial performance, as outlined in our annual and sustainability report, which is available on our website, yvr.ca. Tamara will also share how YVR is thinking about the future as we continue to focus on growth and connections and working in service of our community and the economy that supports it. The presentation will be followed by a question and answer session where Tamara will take questions from the audience, both here and online. I would now like to invite Annalisa to the podium, and just before she begins her remarks, please turn your attention to the screens for a short video highlighting all that we accomplished together in 2022. Thank you.
Thank you. I would also like to thank Councillor Sparrow, and I would like to thank Jenny as well. Thank you. And I'd like to add my welcome to the meeting. Ami Sep Kakwilo. Welcome. Bonjour à tous. On behalf of the Board of Directors and the entire Airport Authority team, I'm delighted that we can connect again in person once again. Au nom du conseil d'administration et toute l'équipe à YVR, je suis ravie que nous puissions à nouveau nous connecter en personne aujourd'hui. 2022 was a year of recovery, growth, and connection. Growth and connections is our theme for our 2022 Annual and Sustainability Report. If you haven't had a chance to look at the report, in addition to the important content, it has a wonderful piece of art on the cover created by two Musqueam sisters, Felicia Stogan and Sandra Fasella. You can find all of our annual reporting on our website at yvr.ca. In 2022, we were voted into the top 3 airports in North America and achieved Best Airport Service Staff by Skytrax World Aviation Awards. We are particularly proud of that one, as it is an honor that reflects the dedication and skills of the employees of YVR and all our partners. The airport plays a key role in the economy, creating jobs, and driving business opportunity. We are working to build the airport ecosystem of the future, and we continuously enhance our contributions to the community and the airport that we serve. We began 2022 with travel and health restrictions still in place, but these lifted as we launched into summer. People's desire to connect with friends, family, and associates blossomed. As a result, we experienced increases in our passenger traffic unlike anything we'd seen before and exceeding all our projections. Our leadership team faced these challenges head-on. Strategic investments made during the pandemic, such as our digital twin and baggage system upgrades, along with the dedication of the YVR team and partners, served us well. In addition to passenger milestones, we are pleased to mark the 5th anniversary of our friendship and sustainability agreement with Musqueam. This is the first of its kind. Through this agreement, we embarked upon and continue to walk a path of reconciliation, advancing important initiatives and cultural works, and most importantly, integrating the spirit of this path into everything we do at YVR. We also continue to work with all levels of government, airline, partners, institutions, and businesses by actively engaging in our partnerships and our community impact initiatives, by stepping up and providing support, and hopefully making a difference. Emerging from the pandemic, we prioritize innovation as well as ensuring a safe and secure operation and advancing our climate goals. On climate, YVR remains carbon neutral and on track to meet our net zero in 2030 goal. And in fact, we were recognized with airport accreditation, carbon accreditation level 4+, the highest level recognized by Airport Council International. On the innovation front, we used our digital twin to enhance the passenger journey and improve operational efficiencies. Of course, this year was not without its challenges, notably the disruption experienced during the severe winter weather events last December. 3 weeks ago today, we made public an after-action review. I am pleased to see that the review confirmed that we did not compromise safety during the event. However, we did not achieve the customer service commitment that we normally hold ourselves to. I do commend the YVR leadership team for its tireless work that it did to maintain safe operations during this event and support affected passengers. Also, I commend them for launching the comprehensive review of what happened so we can strengthen our systems and procedures to help us face extreme weather events in the future. I will note that steps put in place in December allowed YVR to weather the 2023 weather event in an effective manner, and Tamara's going to talk a little bit more about that. YVR continues to adapt to a post-pandemic volatility, embracing our mandate of proudly connecting British Columbia to the world. I'm excited for 2023. It'll bring growth, new connections, impactful partnerships, all powered by the innovation and entrepreneurial spirit of YVR. In closing, I'd like to say just a few thank yous. To my fellow directors, the community-appointed board that holds us to account, to the Airport Authority team, whose dedication to providing exceptional service to our customers here at YVR and in the community ensured the airport remains safe and secure. To the 26,000 employees from our business partners, government agencies, and other businesses across Sea Island who make up this airport ecosystem that we love so much. To our customers and the community around us, including those who took valuable time to respond to our after-action review. And to our executive team, whose leadership has allowed YVR to navigate new challenges while keeping our values of safety, teamwork, innovation, and accountability at our core. C'est maintenant avec tellement plaisir, it's now my extreme pleasure to introduce to you the CEO and President of the Vancouver Airport Authority, Tamara Vrooman.
Thank you very much, Annalisa. And it is indeed so fantastic to be able to have our meeting in person, seeing so many of you from across our airport community, our staff, our customers, our partners. Welcome. It's a pleasure to be able to present our results to you today. It's also a pleasure to be here on the unceded and traditional territory of Musqueam. And I really raise my hands and thank you for the privilege of operating this fine airport on this land. I also want to give a thanks to you, Jenny, for doing the translation for us in American Sign Language, and also to our two translators, Michelle and Marcella, who are doing the French translation online. And welcome to all of you who are joining us online from wherever you may be. In fact, 2022 was a very unique year. We had some challenges that were unprecedented. Some of them were in the positive category with respect to growth. Some of them were in the challenging category with respect to the disruption of our operations due to weather, particularly for those 5 days that preceded Christmas Day in December. And speaking of weather, you know, we are British Columbia's airport, and we work very, very closely with our regional airport partners across British Columbia and, in fact, Western Canada and the north as well. And I know that some of our communities are really suffering today, whether it be from flood or fire. And so I just wanted to take a moment to give a shout out to those folks. We're looking forward to providing whatever service and support that we can. We know emergency services are doing their best to really address some pretty severe weather. So on our behalf, just allow me to extend our thoughts to communities in the parts of the province suffering from flood and fire. And so let's talk a little bit about our results and what happened in 2022. There are some really important figures. We saw a huge bounce back in our passenger numbers as we started the year with COVID restrictions in place. We ended the year without those COVID restrictions in place. I think you've seen the World Health Organization has officially declared the pandemic is over. And boy, are travelers coming back with a vengeance since that time. So we saw the single biggest increase in our passenger volumes in the history of YVR. Normally, we would welcome and celebrate a 3% increase in passenger growth at our airport. In fact, between 2018 and 2019, our passenger numbers grew by 3%, and we thought that was a pretty spectacular year. And yet in 2022, between January and August of 2022, our passenger numbers grew by an astonishing 168%. Never in the history of commercial aviation have we seen a bounce back of that magnitude. And I'm pleased to say that in many, many ways we met that challenge and we delivered on our customers' expectations, on travelers' expectations, on the community's expectations. In a few areas, however, we did not. And I'm going to take a little bit of time to talk to you about those. We certainly also have seen a significant increase in across our business, whether it's cargo, whether it's the number of airlines serving our airports, whether it's the number of employees and the growth that we're seeing right across our airport. By the numbers, we are a very robust and large operation. You've heard that we have over 26,000 people who work at our airport. We serve over 111 destinations with over 50 air carriers operating here at YVR. And we continue to look for opportunities to create connections through aviation in order to serve our community and the economy that supports it. You know, Canada, we are blessed in this nation by having a very large geography, but we also have a small population. So having a healthy, robust, resilient, sustainable, inclusive, modern, technologically advanced aviation system is essential, not only to our economy, but to our community to allow people to connect. We also saw some significant performance improvements in 2022. You know, when you take a look at our annual report, we have a very detailed description of our results there. You will see that we outperformed in many, many areas. Some areas, though, we fell short. And what we do here at YVR is we don't set a modest target or a bar that we know that we can clear. We know that the community in the region and our employees rely on us to deliver superior service, and we hold ourselves to a very high standard. So you will see, notwithstanding the pandemic, we didn't lower our standards in customer service, in baggage connection, in on-time performance. And in many of those cases, we met or exceeded those. You can see on the chart before you, I'm sorry it's very small print, but just pay attention to the check marks. But it really talks about our performance. Very, very close in customer service. Very good growth when it comes to climate. Excellent on cargo. But we fell short in some areas. Our Wi-Fi service wasn't always where it needed to be. On-time performance didn't always meet the highest standard, although in the majority of the times we did. Baggage connections and baggage delivery, over 99% of the time, we made sure that passengers got their bags on the part of the baggage system. That is the airport's accountability. But then again, there was other areas in terms of pre-board screening that didn't always meet the standard. We take all of this information, we make it public so that you can see and we're accountable to you in terms of our performance, and we use it to reinvest in our airport to make us better. And of course, we don't just measure our results on growth alone. We also look at the impact we create, whether it's through employment, through diversity and inclusion, through our relationship with Musqueam, or through climate. We are focused on ensuring that growth with impact always goes together. And of course, we're very privileged to have very important partners and customers who we work with each and every day to deliver our business. And they too continue to invest in YVR. I want to take a moment to call out Air Canada, who is invested in YVR in a significant way in 2022. As they build back their business, they're showing confidence in our operations, and we're very, very proud and pleased to be able to work in partnership with them. As they add more routes and services, you can see some of the destinations that have been added just this past year to the network that we have serving British Columbia and beyond. WestJet, also a very important part, a very important airline customer for us. They added back 4 routes that had been taken away during the pandemic, including San Diego and Kamloops, and they continue to look to Vancouver to be central to their strategy of building out a Western-based carrier that's well connected through the United States and beyond. And we welcomed a number of other new airlines as well. You can see them listed here: JetBlue, Lynx, Jetlines, Asquewu, Sun Country, and Fiji, just to name a few that added service, some for the very first time to our airport, helping us build back and serve our community better. Collectively, as I mentioned, 52 airlines, 111 destinations at YVR in 2022. We also managed this growth through a lot of hard work on the ground, and whether it was through the work that we did on cargo, the work that we did on baggage, the work that we did on our IT and our digital operations, we're continually at YVR looking to build upon our reputation as leaders in innovation, to build into our processes things that we know will improve our efficiency, reduce our GHG emissions, improve our employee experience and engagement in each and everything we do. So let me talk a little bit about some of the things that we did. Certainly one of the areas that has been consistently challenged, both on the upside and also on the downside throughout the pandemic, has been supply chain issues. And aviation is no different than marine traffic or truck traffic. And so we were called upon by the community to make sure that we could continue to invest in supply chain so we had robust, efficient operations. One of the examples there, in 2022, we partnered with a company called Calais Logistics. And what Calais does in our cargo operations is they work using AI and machine learning to create signals that are able to detect what cargo is coming in from aircraft when they're way up still in the air, and to make sure that we dispatch trucks in the right way, in an efficient way, so that we don't have a person waiting for a box, waiting for a truck, waiting for an airline. It's just in-time delivery. That not only improves the throughput and the efficiency right through the supply chain and the capacity that we can put through here at YVR, it also reduces truck idling time and therefore emissions of our cargo operations. Which brings me to cargo growth. Cargo growth has been one of the bright spots during the pandemic, and 2022 was no different. We exceeded our cargo target by quite a bit, with over 300,000 tons of cargo flowing through our airport. We continue to look for ways to expand our ability to serve the needs of our cargo customers, because we know that increasingly the economy in British Columbia is looking for ways to connect either through the process of manufacture or through the process of distribution and sales through YVR as a cargo port, as well as a people movement port. So cargo has been a huge part of our operations in 2022, and you'll hear us continue to talk about cargo growth, how important it is for the airport and the region in the years to come. We also spent quite a bit of time on our operations, whether it was our baggage operation and ensuring that we had the right systems in place and resiliency. We did a lot of work to deconstruct our baggage system in 2020 and 2021, building it back together with improved resilience and performance. And that's where you see that outbound baggage number 99% of the time. The bags left when they were supposed to, got on the plane, and therefore went with passengers on their way. We also did a lot of investment in safety in our runway end safety areas. So this is the part of a runway that allows, if there is a need for additional pavement because of some unexpected event, we have the additional pavement available to make sure that we have safe landings in all of our operations. We also invested in guest experience, creating an opportunity to bring those services in-house, creating living wage jobs for a number of people in our community. These are the folks, many of them here, who wear the blue jackets, and they are the ones that are really helping our passengers navigate through and get on their way. We also invested in our digital twin, creating a full digital replica of our airport, which allows us to collect in real time data about our operations and use it to improve our decision making. We did this and so much more, all the while continuing to focus on our purpose, which is to serve the community and the economy that supports it. The other investments that we made, as you've seen here as you came in, were in our food and beverage offering. We've welcomed a number of new vendors, and we continue to look for ways to improve and diversify the offerings that we have for passengers and employees in our terminal. You heard that we were able to welcome for the first time an Indigenous restaurant into an airport, the first one of its kind in the country, and we look forward to many, many more opportunities to include local entrepreneurs and local restaurants to provide not only the beautiful fit and finish that YVR is known for, but also the culinary and cultural experiences that make this region so unique. And speaking of culture, of course, we are very committed, and here we are in now our 6th year of our very unique sustainability and friendship agreement with Musqueam. Each and every day, there are opportunities that we have to deepen the connection and the learning that we have through our partnership with Musqueam. Musqueam have been, I can tell you, very, very generous partners, particularly during the pandemic, when they stood by us and supported us, whether it was in elders coming out to welcome flights full of refugees to this country in a good way, getting people who are in very, very vulnerable and difficult circumstances set up for success, let them know that they were welcome here, and get them on their way. 2, the way that we've thought about the way that we manage the resources and using Indigenous ways of knowing in environmental, stream, and fish management to ensure that we meet our very high standards with respect to environmental commitment and wildlife management. To the cultural symbols that you see. On your way in today, perhaps you saw the welcome post. Something that was very important that we put here to welcome people to the airport in a good way. In fact, I think we welcomed 150 WestJet pilots to the airport today through that welcome post in a good way. We also have had the opportunity to create employment throughout our airport, but also in areas of emerging fields of employment. For example, in digital readiness and digital technology, and I see that we have a number of people from our digital twin Musqueam program here in the audience creating meaningful modern employment for Indigenous people for generations to come. We also, I think I spoke to that already. Yep, we can keep going. We also did quite a bit of work in the community beyond just what we see here at YVR. Whether it was in the city of Richmond, Burkeville, or beyond, the community here at YVR has been very generous. In 2022, we supported 18 community partners, providing nearly $2 million in monetary and in-kind donations. I can tell you from personal experience, when we put out the call to the 26,000 people who work here at YVR, that there's a need and can they pitch in, whether it's for a hamper drive for Quest Foods, or whether it's for clothing for Ukrainian refugees, the people and the community of YVR always steps up. And through the pandemic, it was no different. We coordinated the hashtag Empty Box Challenge across our YVR airport community, collecting and donating more than 200 boxes filled with essential goods and care items to support the Ukrainians, for example. Our team prepared a record number of food hampers as well in partnership with Quest Outreach Society, which fed, in this particular case in 2022, 7,500 British Columbia families. We also partnered with the Vancouver Pride Society and local transgender artists to creatively showcase YVR as a place of welcome, with a unique art installation of 32 pride flags at the Canada Line walkway. And so as you see that beautiful sunlight casting through the panels there, you really get a sense of welcoming and warmth to our airport. We also continued to focus on our operational resilience, and that can't be done without our people. And certainly, we've spent quite a bit of time focusing on training, development, diversification, diversity, inclusion, multilaterering career paths, all part of building a resilient airport community that is equipped and confident to meet the needs of our industry going forward. In fact, in 2022, you heard we were voted into the top 2 best airports in North America, the top 20 in the world, and the top 3 for the best airport staff service in North America by Skytrax, the world authority in airport service. But we also had that time, I'm sure you're all familiar with it, in December, where our operations weren't at the level that we expect. And frankly, we caused and had quite significant and severe disruption in our operations. We had an unprecedented weather event that started here, went right across the country, and showed us, frankly, where there's vulnerability in our operations and what we needed to do to support it. We commissioned an after-action review, including some of the world's best and leading experts in airport and aviation operations, to review what the plans that we had for building back stronger coming out of the December events, and to provide recommendations and commentary on the actions we should take. Exactly 3 weeks ago, we released this report to the public, and it had a list of 25 actions, many of which we've already started to put in place. We know that the public relies on us to deliver safe, efficient, reliable, modern operations. I'm pleased to say that at no time during that disruption was our safety record challenged, but clearly our service record was. And so we look forward to being able to update our community on what we've been doing in response to the after-action review. And we will be publishing that publicly on our website, and we have already started to publish some of the real-time performance data for you to view, so please don't hesitate to check that out on yvr.ca. We continue to focus on the resilience from an environmental and climate point of view as well. You know, we focus a lot on GHG reductions, and we've made very strong progress towards our unique in the airport community target of being net zero by 2030. But as the weather that we've seen recently and that we saw in December and the previous summer in the heat dome, The weather events that we're finding and we're experiencing are getting increasingly frequent and more severe with each occurrence. That means that we have to really focus on the resiliency of our operations, not just in a service way, but also from an environmental resiliency point of view. And so we have embedded in 2022 improved work to look at our dikes, our drainage, how we clear water off pavement, how we think about the maintenance of our physical assets as well as our natural assets, all with a total comprehensive view to ensuring that the environmental resilience and adaptation is as strong as the commitment that we have to climate and GHG reduction. That's everything from focusing on salmon safe and making sure that what we do to encourage healthy salmon populations, because we are located on a river estuary, all the way through to the lights that we use in the airport, all the way through to the way that we manage water flow in and out of our airport, given that we are on an island and below sea level. All of that allows us to test the resiliency of our physical assets and the land on which we are operating, as well as building into the resiliency some of the work that we're doing on the operations side. We were recognized for this work, as you heard, by a level 4+ certification in climate resiliency and environmental leadership, the only airport in Canada to achieve that status. We ended the year in a very strong cash position with no additional financing. You can see here in the top corner that we finished the year with 27.2 million negative results after depreciation and debt service expense. And while that number is negative, it's a significant improvement over where we thought we would be at the beginning of the year. In fact, our financial results were significantly improved throughout 2022 due to, of course, the 168% passenger growth that we talked about, but also a disciplined approach to expense allocation. Not that we kept it at zero, because clearly we needed to keep pace with customer and partner and passenger demand, but in a way that was prudent. And so our expenses grew at a lower rate than our revenue, thus creating the significant improvement in our financial results. We also have maintained our AA credit rating. We continue to hold the highest credit rating of any airport in the country, something that ensures that our debt service costs are kept as low as they possibly can. Thus, we're able to transfer value back and reinvest in our airport, as opposed to diverting those expenses to servicing our debt. We continue to look for ways to improve the financial operations of our airport because, as you know, as a non-profit private share capital corporation, we must earn a return on our operations, but we also must reinvest 100% of that return back into the airport for the benefit of the community and the economy that we serve. And so the better we do in terms of those results, the more we reinvest into our airport to keep us the leader that we have been known to be for pretty much all decades since we were created in 1992. The MacArthur Glen Designer Outlet Centre, the mall that we have out there on Grant McConaughey Way, also has been performing very well and is widely recognized to be one of the top 4 malls in the country in terms of sales and revenue. So that gives us an opportunity to diversify some of the results that we have, as well as continue to serve the community through that operation. The performance of the centre contributed $1.2 million to our financial results this past year. We continue to work on ensuring our infrastructure was also in a state of good repair, investing $141 million into capital projects this past year. One of the things that you'll see is a change in the way that we're thinking about capital going forward. We do feel that the size and scale of our airport terminal is pretty much ideal, but the way that we have apportioned the terminal is probably not. So we're going to be doing a lot more to renovate and improve the way that we have structured our terminal, but less on absolute build-outs. And you'll see that that gives us the flexibility the financial return, and the timelines that will allow us to keep pace with customers' and passengers' expectations. And finally, I want to talk a little bit about the nature of running an airport. You know, I come from a financial background. I am a banker by training, although I like to say a friendly banker, but a banker nonetheless. And we used to say all the time that we couldn't get anything done without a team. But I can tell you, being the CEO of an airport is a totally different level of teamwork. And it is a true team sport. Not one of us, myself included, can get anything done on any given day without the coordinated, thoughtful, committed, values-aligned work of the number of people around us. And that includes many of you here in the audience today. And I really wanted to end by saying publicly what an absolute privilege it is to be the president and CEO of this airport, not just because we win awards, although that's great, but mostly because of the people we get to work with and the work that we get to do to serve the community and the economy that supports it. Thank you very much. Very happy to take your questions. Merci.
All right, thank you very much, Tamara. We will now proceed with the Q&A portion of the meeting, as a lot of people walk out. You can direct your questions to Tamara. Audience members who would like to ask a question, please line up in front of either of the two microphones in the middle of the aisles. Live stream viewers who would like to pose a question, please send us your questions using the chat feature in Zoom. You can also pose your question in French or using American Sign Language. Please approach the microphone and our interpreter will facilitate. Live stream viewers can type their questions directly in French via the chat function. We have approximately 10 minutes for questions, and we will now open it up. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, members of the Executive Committee and also the Executive Board of the Airport Authority. My name is David. I've attended a lot of these meetings. I want to begin my remarks by extending my compliments to both the Executive Committee and the Executive Board of the airport for the transparency of their action report during the very difficult period in December where we inconvenienced a great number of British Columbians, including myself. I have read the report. It is as thorough as I would have expected, although I did ask some other questions around to my colleagues who were present over those 4 days, and I will bring to your attention some other items that were mentioned to me. But I'd like to begin my remarks to Tamara with a statement about climate change. We have been going through a period of climate change in the province of British Columbia that has been unprecedented over the last 2 years. We've had atmospheric rivers. We've had wind conditions that stopped ferries from going to Vancouver Island. We've had water spouts off Point Grey for the first time ever. We've had winter conditions that we have not seen for 30 years. I do not recall a period of time when we had 3 successive snowstorms such that we outstripped the ability of the airport to provide glycol, urea, which is used to cover the tarmacs and remove ice, and other products, diesel fuel specifically, that have been so challenging. Tamara, I have raised these particular issues. I know that the report addresses them. I want to remind you of them, but I also would like to raise another concern related to climate change, which is As the weather becomes more predictable and more severe, we do not have an adequate system at the Vancouver Airport for the detection of lightning. We presently use a system where someone from the airport phones the weather office to find out whether lightning will take place, and our only method of distribution of that system is through radio contact, which are to the people on the ramp who are at the most hazard. Can we possibly include in our remedial processes for what we have just gone through for dramatic climate change to include a better lightning detection system for the safety of the people that work at this airport?
Yeah, thank you very much, David. And I think you're a little modest when you said many of these AGMs. My understanding is you've attended every one of these AGMs. So thank you for your commitment to this process and to our airport. The short answer to that is yes. So one of the things that we saw during the December weather event was that the reliability and consistency of weather information was more subjective than we would like. And we had different partners throughout the airport community, whether it was airlines, whether it was our ramp operators, whether it was our internal staff or parking or road clearing, were using different forecasts to look at what the weather event would be. That's why we have decided to install here at the airport sensitive, purpose-built weather equipment that can detect and provide real-time data so that all parts of the airport community get the same information at the same time that is very specific to the unique conditions at YVR. I see no reason why we couldn't extend that to include lightning. So thank you very much for that. We also have some questions online here. I think there was one, it just moved. There it is. One I will read out for you. Question 1, since COVID, there has been increased aircraft takeoffs on the North Runway 26R, eastbound in the early hours. When is it likely to decrease? And when will you adhere to the 10 to 7 timeline? That's 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. And will the movement stop when the South Runway maintenance is completed by November of this year? So thank you for that question. What that question refers to for the broader audience is the fact that we are doing maintenance on the South Runway and the South Airfield. We are a 2-runway airport, as you probably know, and so that moves a lot of our traffic, in fact, the majority of our traffic, to the North Runway. People who live along the ridge in South Vancouver, out Kerrisdale to Point Grey, I'm one of them, have experienced, since we've started this work in the South, increased aviation and traffic noise since the beginning of April when we first did that. Unfortunately, also the weather hasn't helped us. We've had worse weather conditions, which meant that there's been more than usual eastbound takeoffs, which is particularly loud in the north. And so while we've been out to talk to the community to ensure that you know that this is temporary while we do work, we will be returning to our normal operations in November when the work is complete. And we really thank you for your patience in advance. I know that there has been a number of people who have noted the increased noise, and we're doing our best to keep it to a minimum. But as you can appreciate, if the weather dictates that we have to take off to the east, we have to take off to the east. Hopefully with the conditions that we see today and with the weather forecast going forward, we can have a more balanced operation on the north. But that's what's causing it. And yes, we have no plans at this time to abandon our 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. Restrictions. Yeah, next question. Sure.
Back to me?
Yep.
I'd like to turn my attention now to the 2037 Master Report for the airport. And there was a subsidiary report produced this year which modified that master plan. And specifically what it did is it released about 400 acres, correct me if I'm wrong, of reserved land which I suspect was part of the 3rd runway option for the airport, which has now been allocated for commercial development. Now, in your remarks to this audience, you made mention of the fact that the Capitol buildings that we are currently in here would benefit from a careful review of utilization so that we can get better mileage out of the existing plant that we've already got. Given that you have now released the 400 acres that was protected for the third runway, what's going to happen to the third runway option, or what is the current plan of the authority when we finally get to the limit of this infrastructure, which is 25 million people, and then have to start looking at more build-out in order to accommodate more traffic?
Yeah, thank you very much, David. David is referring to a change that we made during the pandemic to our land use plan. Land use plan that had been in place for more or less for 30 years, but hadn't been reviewed in an end-to-end way in some time. And so we took the opportunity during the pandemic to take a look at all different scenarios, passenger forecasts beyond 25 million, looking at technological changes in aircraft and aircraft movements, different utilization, different gauge of aircraft, as well as technological developments with the navigation authority and the way that we gate and move aircraft on the airfield, and concluded that really in no realistic scenario would we be in the need of a third runway in the next 50 years. And so, in fact, we would have to be about the size of London Heathrow Airport, just to put it in perspective, before we would need that third runway. When we took the land that was reserved for the third runway out, that freed up about 400 acres in the north for commercial development, aviation related. We've certainly had some very good and positive conversations with our colleagues Musqueam, as well as with the investment community on uses for that land, but we're going to be very patient in terms of making sure we have the right opportunity that comes along for our airport. But it also freed up about 800 acres in the south for further densification, which includes the opportunity to improve and strengthen our cargo operations in the south. Much of the work that we're doing today on the south is to improve the resilience and the capacity we have in the south in order that we can move traffic to the south while we do increased work on the north, all the while looking at the way that we manage the airfield and the pavement in order to give us maximum capability. So in short, David, we concluded that we, under no scenario in the next 50 years plus, would we require a third runway. I'm not sure of the likelihood of getting a third runway into the ocean approved in any case, but we have been focusing our plans instead on a better utilization of the assets that we have, employing better technology, better operational resilience and performance to ensure that the investments that we've made come to their full potential. Here's a question in French. Pourquoi le rapport du commissariat aux langages officiels montrant qu'il y a tant de violations linguistiques? That is my Vancouver French accent, for all of you that were wondering. But I think the question is really, we don't cite the number of violations of the Official Language Act in our report. And so I think we have been working to be quite a bit more transparent in our work on official languages, and also looking for ways that we can improve translation and French language service across all of our communication channels. In fact, the fact we have French language translation of these proceedings is relatively new, and so that's one way we're doing it. And other areas, though, that are a challenge and we continue to look at are things like Twitter. How do we make sure that social media posts that need to be timely and informed are also provided in both official languages? Are there opportunities for us to increase language training that we have for our staff? You probably couldn't tell from that, but I am taking French language training, for example, to ensure that both official languages can be met across the board. We do have data on how many infractions that we've seen. Some are questions and we're able to remediate and address them right away. Others are part of more comprehensive look at our operations across multiple airports and take a little bit more time for us to address as an airport system. But we welcome any suggestions you have for how we can make that information more transparent in both official languages. It's certainly part of our commitment to do so. another question from the floor.
Yes, ma'am. We have a magnificent building over here that's covered in canvas that says that something might happen with it in 2030. Now, all of that, of course, was predicated on a slow and moderated return of passengers, and you've already quoted the 168% jump. So is there some likelihood that the stopped construction on the core buildings that were announced 2 years ago, I believe, would resume earlier than 2030?
Thanks very much, David. What David's referring to is the partially constructed parkade, as well as partially constructed central utilities building that exists just at the approach, the physical and road approach to our airport. And what we've wrapped the central utilities building infrastructure in is something that talks about our climate commitment, actually, of 2030. So it doesn't relate to the completion date of the building. We have been looking at a number of scenarios, including how we support staff and others to get to the airport without coming in their car, how we make sure that we've got enough public transportation options available 24/7, because that's the nature of our operation, how we've been able to use pooling of resources to make sure that people can efficiently get here while not causing congestion on roads and bridges that lead to our airport. And so all of that analysis is now nearly complete, and we are in a place where we do think that in the not too distant future, we will likely need to complete the parkade. Whether we complete the new parkade and close the old one because we can consolidate, whether we can use the parkade more efficiently with our car rental services, whether there's other opportunities for increased electrification and mobility, all of those are part of the final analysis that we're doing on that piece. On the Central Utilities building, part of what we were doing in the Central Utilities building was building and constructing a district energy system for serving our airport, a more sustainable way to essentially recycle the energy that we produce here at the airport. We are planning to proceed with that, which will take over the basement and the first floor, and we are exploring opportunities for other tenants, including tenants of the airport, to occupy those floors. And so that decision will likely be made sometime in 2023. Is that?
Yes, at the potentially career-limiting notion of publicly stepping in front of my boss before she finishes, I would like to note that we only have about 1 minute left for questions. If there's any further, or anyone else in the room, and if there's no one else in the room, just 1 minute.
A quick one. Under the financial report, you disposed of $595,000 of assets in 2022. What did you dispose of?
I'm not sure that we have a detailed list of the 595,000, but we can certainly get that to you.
That's it's just, is this older equipment that you sell, or scrap, or stuff?
No, in this particular case, I can tell you that the bulk of what that is had to do with the additional diesel generators and some of the equipment that we had bought to back up the original design of the district energy system. We're not using a diesel backup for that system. We have a more sustainable system that doesn't require the utilization of traditional diesel. Those are very new, unused generators, so we were able to sell them to the benefit of the authority to the community who wished to purchase them and needed them.
Okay, and just a really quick note from somebody who's been doing this for a long time. Questions from the public and online used to be more than 10 minutes. In fact, last year they were an hour, and a year before that they were probably an hour and a half. There's not that many people here this year that want to ask questions. I have a few more, but of course I don't want to monopolize. But at the end of the day, I'd like to express a concern about a restriction on the opportunity for people who take the time to come to this meeting to ask the questions that they feel that they need answers for.
Thank you very much, David, and certainly we agree with you, and so we'll have some opportunity to make sure that all of your questions are answered. We also look for suggestions in ways that we can encourage greater participation and more people to come out and hear their questions either in advance, if you'd like, or here at YVR. Definitely happy to make more time available for questions if we have more questions coming out. So thank you very much for that very fair and noted observation. And with that, I think I turn it back to you.
Okay, thank you very much. So everyone, coming up on 2 o'clock, so the end of today's program. I want to thank you all for attending our annual public meeting, and also hope you all have a very wonderful remainder of the day. Thank you very much.